Welcome back. Dan, how are you doing?
I am good. I apologize for the lack of video today. My mother is in her front room teaching her girls on Zoom how to do yoga, and she's jumping around with a 3 kilo kettlebell. So I've been confined to my bedroom, and the backdrop's not very good.
Basically, you're in the basement.
Yep, pretty much. I've been confined to the basement, and the basement's shit and it's cold.
Yeah, I just had a little nap, so I think I'll go stick with the profile picture as well. I don't know why I'm just so tired and kind of. I think I need a few days off, even though I had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
So you're in Asia. You're in Bali. You need a holiday. I gotcha.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go somewhere else in Asia over the next couple of weeks, so that should be fun. But anyway, right. I know we like to look at charts on a Tuesday, but I think this is too big of a story not to kind of cover as well. So, the story is Circle freezes USDC funds in Tornado Cash US Treasury sanctioned wallets. This is like a bit of a shit show because, well, for more reasons than one. I think the Tornado Cash GitHub has kind of been sanctioned. People who had contributed to that, their accounts have been kind of disabled and removed. And then obviously any wallets associated, there could be frozen funds in there. So it's saying Ethereum blockchain data shows that Center has stopped the movement of at least 75,000 USDC up to now. The story only broke about 12 hours ago with the block and Cointelegraph, but it's just a tricky situation, isn't it? It's like, how can, I mean, just, I think Vitalik said something recently, like, just because something exists, people feel the need to go and regulate it. And they're trying to kind of box it up into this, like a state response to excessive hacking by other state-sponsored programs, like namely, North Korea has been brought up an awful lot. How true those kind of rumors are regarding a lot of DeFi protocols being hacked, particularly from that area of the world. But if that was kind of the case, why is it targeting US customers and US users? So it's kind of just it's been handled really badly. It doesn't really look good for Circle. And to be honest, it's not just the fact that they've targeted Tornado Cash and targeted wallets that have interacted with Tornado Cash and then kind of blacklisted those wallets. But Circle's had a lot of blacklisted wallets, and it's only kind of, and USDT has as well. It's just kind of come to the forefront now that this can actually happen. And I don't know. What do you think?
As they've kind of like targeted North Korea, do you think there's like, this is me going all like Illuminati and whatever on it, but do you think there's like a bigger picture here? Like, if, let's say, USDC and Circle are blacklisting or, targeting the North Koreans, do you think there's like a deep, I won't say it, but do you think there's like a deeper meaning behind something like that, especially as things start to get a little bit more, regulated?
Yeah, I think, well, we kind of seen it when, following kind of Russia's invasion with Ukraine, they try, like, the powers that be try to put a spin on and everything and say, look, people are evading sanctions by using kind of crypto rails. But at the same time, they neglected to point out the fact that millions upon millions was donated to Ukraine from people who could, within 15, 16 seconds, send this money across borders without having to kind of go through any centralized authorities and stuff like that. So that it's like you can't in one breath say how bad it is and then neglect to point out like the good that it's been used for. So they're trying to just kind of shoehorn in any narrative that fits their own agenda, and it's obvious that they're going to do that. I think this is probably like the first of many, but what I really, really don't like is the idea that they've targeted a specific protocol, which is Tornado Cash, and obviously anyone who hasn't used Tornado Cash, the basics of it, you can deposit in from one address. This will give you like a private phrase what you can kind of copy, and then you can kind of go in from connect any other wallet address, paste in that private phrase, and then the Tornado mixer spits it out into that other address. And it's kind of an anonymous way to kind of transfer funds. Naturally, it's kind of seen as I don't know, like you'll know from the kind of shitcoin world, won't you? If you kind of see liquidity being deployed and the initial transfer of funds to actually add liquidity for specific projects that's just launched, it's not the best. It doesn't look the best on chain.
No.
It's like, well, but in the same breath, it's like, well, you can kind of still, not to kind of point it out, but you can kind of still transfer funds on chain from a centralized exchange with without that being completely anonymous. I mean, you can create a new wallet, effectively a fresh wallet coming from a centralized exchange, but you know it could tie back in the meantime.
Yeah, and I never know why like the shitcoin space always uses it, because it does look a little bit dodgy and guilty. What I'd want to know is, like, with all of these blacklist wallets, like whose wallets are they? What is going to happen with these blacklist wallets? And is there going to be the possibility for those blacklist wallets to be, I guess, unblacklisted if it's a legitimate user? Let's say, I don't know, you or I were to use it, and we got blacklisted, as we're legit degens, we're not those nasty people. Would we be able to get our funds unblacklisted, or are those funds now just completely gone?
Yeah, I'd assume they were just completely gone. This thing from Banteg, though, I'm looking at like what it says here, and it's Circle just frozen 75,000 USDC belonging to unsuspecting Tornado users, as well as 149 USDC donated to the project. One wallet accounted for 71,000 of that. There's a 3,900 transaction, and the rest didn't have any funds in there. So it's like someone's been hit with like 71 grand. Someone's been hit with 3,900. But if those addresses can be identified by routing funds from and to a centralized exchange that is KYC, it's like what does that mean for those people that have been using it? Because I mean, like if we're completely honest, there's two sides of the argument, isn't there? It's like privacy should be a fundamental human right, particularly if someone's kind of up to no good. And then the other side of it is it's just a protocol that is being used to transfer funds, and again, people might not want other people to know where those funds are coming from and going to. But people will say, you can kind of get into a sticky argument where people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you've got nothing to hide. But the very act of what Circle have done and regulators are doing here is just a massive point to, we need a kind of privacy layer, because this is a complete shit show. And I'm surprised we didn't see too much of privacy related assets pumped too hard. I know there was a couple of projects that are decentralized stablecoin related that had a little pump, but obviously those will kind of get faded until I don't know. They're just it's just a really shit situation.
I just want to know who those wallets are. Like, who has that 71? Who has that 339? And then who has that completely random 149.752? Like, if they can trace those back and then they can like give a really good reason, good mate, because that $150 one, that just looks like somebody's groceries or something. But it really is. The fact that I think they are trying to cause a bit of a stir or something with the Lazarus Group, the North Korean hacking syndicate, because that seems less about like Tornado Cash and USDC, but more about them. And in order to get to them or create FUD or bring that to light, they're using Tornado Cash and USDC and Circle as the thing to bring them to the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it a few times on here, haven't we? It's like, I don't mind the act of centralized stablecoins, because I mean, effectively they've worked. They kind of work if you're not up to no good. And for the vast majority of people who use them, it's going to be completely fine. But it's just that the idea that blacklisting can happen, and there's going to be absolutely no way on earth that once it is blacklisted, it's going to become unblacklisted. It'd be strange to see, like someone pointed out that, as I was saying, with the kind of process that you go through when you actually use Tornado Cash. So you've got like your ETH or your USDC on one wallet, you plug it into Tornado Cash, you get your key, and then from there you can kind of you choose the address that it's going to be sent to by using the key. So what happens if someone has like a very identifiable wallet? They deposit some funds into Tornado Cash, they pick out the key, and then wallet that so it looks like they're being the receiver of mixed funds. So it's like they just haven't thought about this whatsoever. And I think it's I think the whole North Korea thing's a bit of a, I don't know. I just think they're they use that as a scapegoat, like they tend to use a lot of Asian countries and people who they're not exactly in bed with, and I don't know. Again, like the article from the blog is completely right in what it's saying. It's not just USDC who've done this. I think I pulled it up in a recent article as well. It says rival stablecoin Tether has frozen 653 addresses on Ethereum over the last few years, and then you've kind of got the argument, well, if people are exploiting and trying to rush funds away through Tornado Cash and then on to kind of a centralized exchange where they can then remove the funds. I don't know. This being your own bank thing is a little bit more trickier than everyone first thought.
Yeah, I think this is a story like we just need to keep our eye on and see if and how it escalates, and if it does escalate further, like what other stable coins will be brought into it. Will this go as far as Tron and his USDD? Will it go as far as that?
I don't know. I still think I still think there is an awful lot of merit to decentralized stable coins that are over collateralized. But again, obviously the biggest is DAI, and DAI first started out obviously being over collateralized by ETH, and then they put a few governance proposals in when it kind of depegged a couple of years back, and then DAI has ended up being around 60% USDC. So like DAI is heavily backed by USDC, so like you can't even rely on that as being a kind of safe haven digital over collateralized stablecoin. You've got MIM, which I mean MIM, even a lot of that collateral on there, despite that being a great product in my opinion, a lot of the collateral on there is coming from like a TriCrypto or a like a 3-pool LP on Curve, which again is is built up predominantly with USDC, and you've even got like the new developments with Balancer. With that Balancer effectively looked at the TriCrypto pool and said, well, people don't like exposure to Tether because of a lot of Tether FUD. So instead of having the Bitcoin ETH and USDT pair, which you can kind of gain exposure to, the Balancer said, well, we'll take out USDT and put in USDC. So like whichever way people navigate away from it, we can't get away from the fact that USDT and USDC are the most liquid and up until now were the most kind of reliable and trustworthy on downturns. But I don't know. It's leaving people with no space to turn, so people should just buy my ETH bags.
Yeah, let's pump that ETH bag right the way back. Let's get it. Look, we're $11 away from 1800 again. Let's pump it back to 18 and then back to the moon.
Should we take a look at it?
Yeah, let's do it. Ooh, look at that. And people are saying we're in a bear market. That is up, up, up and away.
Not bad, eh?
Not bad at all.
I mean, I took a little bit off here, but mainly because it was not on ETH. Mainly because I looked at how many positions I had open, and it was like, if anything happens, I'm going to be scrambling to close positions. But ETH in general looks, I mean, it looked great here, despite I don't know. Everyone, you can still sense like the fear in the market, because even if we're going in the right direction, everyone's just like, shit, it could come crumbling down at any minute.
Yeah.
But
I'm not
I
gonna
mean
lie.
that.
I stabled up at two wickedly wrong times, just because you know when you have like that sick feeling in your stomach when you just have like that sense of like literal fear and panic. You're like, shit, this is definitely going to go down even more. It definitely is. Even if I see it going up in the chart, I definitely know it's going to go down. It obviously doesn't go down because it goes up. But I remember I was in when I was in Thailand, and like when the market just crashed, and you're like, oh my god, my emotions have definitely got the best of me. I think I ended up stabling. I'll admit, I stabled up a little bit at 1100, and then about 1400. Obviously, like hindsight's great because it quite clearly looks like that was a bottom, but it does make you feel a little bit better when you do stable up sometimes.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, I can't remember who said this to me before. I think I was like talking about um, even just cutting like 25, 33%, like a quarter or a third, into kind of rough and areas that there's kind of going to be resistance. And even if it's like an insurance policy, and it's like a hedge, but obviously without having to go through like options or perhaps or anything. You kind of just protecting yourself. You're not going to kind of miss any upside if we do pop above. And if we do pop above and you kind of get a retest, then you can kind of add back in at once we have confirmation that where we're going up. So it's just good kind of risk management to even do that. Even like everyone sells lows. Like don't get me wrong. Like we had a bit of a, like the Expo Treasury had a bit of a wobbler here where we began to cut a few positions, and then we still kept some exposure because I don't know, it's just like a gut feeling that we were going to continue up despite this like area looking completely terrible like a couple of weeks back. But again, it's just like proper risk management and being active with your portfolio. I think in these times is required, because if someone's turned to you tomorrow, Dan, and said, should I be buying, what would you say?
I'd probably say no, because we've had so much up right now that, in my opinion, if you do look at like things, I always like to look at like the RSI and where we are between like things like the moving averages. Sometimes I look at the Bollinger Bands as well. I like to have a look at where we actually are in that. And that's all right, mate. We've all got the free version. It's fine.
This is me being poor.
Bear market things. I like to have a look at those things. You want to see if things are overbought, because when we were chatting with Jedi in the chat yesterday, like I think Ethereum was pumping, but then if you looked at on the hourly chart, like Ethereum was so far overbought that the only place was for it to come down. And then if you zoomed in on like the 15-minute charts, you can see it as well. So you can see the sell pressure there on the 15-minute. Like it will test your what's your blue line? What's your EMA on the blue line?
Just think of 50 moving
50. So
average.
chances are that's going to be a massive, like, as you can see from here, is a retest area. There you go, it's dripping. So like if you were to have caught the top of that wick, I wouldn't be surprised if that does come down, touch that, and then go again, or dip below to where like 1760. It's kind of got to watch out for these things. Like you don't want to play things in the middle, because if you play it in the middle, that's when everyone gets burnt. If you wait until like the top or the bottom of, let's say, a Bollinger Band, or like you're supporting your resistance line, then you're going to be a lot safer and a lot smarter with it.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who pointed this out actually the other day, but it goes without saying, but particularly when everything's really really choppy like this, and we're starting to get some form of trend, but there is a lot of chop still around the market. You can't just blindly ape in. I mean, I suppose you can look at that 2 ways. If you're going to slowly scale in, and regardless of what price, because you're going to have a long-term player, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to kind of play this narrative, and obviously there's still a lot of people in the market that think we could drop back to where we were, a lot lower, test like the thousands or even a little bit lower. Don't really buy into that as much anymore. Could be wrong in a few weeks, but we'll see. But yeah, entry is kind of everything, isn't it? At this point, like on the weekly, it's glaringly obvious. There's no. It wouldn't be that harmful to come back down and have a look at like the flat 1700 level again on ETH. There's actually no harm in that. I'm surprised we didn't get a little bit more profit taken again. I thought we were going to kind of just consolidate under that 1700 resistance for a little bit longer, but it seems to we have popped up. It's just holding that as support now. Hopefully continuing higher. I think it's going to take a lot to push us higher, but what will push us higher is if we start seeing. Well, I'm starting to get a few messages from from regular friends saying, "Is it can I be buying? Can I be buying?" And you also start seeing, which is interesting.
Yes, tell them yes. This is when the normies come in. Yes.
Aren't we seeing a lot of kind of short squeezes on meme stocks as well? It kind of indicates retailer back.
Yeah, in the shitcoin casino, like I play it super cautiously, like probably too cautiously sometimes, but I've been burnt horrifically, so I like to play cautious with it. But you can see just the most ridiculous things pumping out of nowhere. So you can see that there's a lot of money like trickling down into the sellers, into the dwellers, where the shitcoin is back. You can see that there is money definitely coming down, and I think there is, and even in the news earlier this week, like there has been a lot of money pumping back into crypto. And the one common theme, like Jerry always says, is these are times for people to build, and you can really see it with the companies and the areas that these big institutes are actually putting their funds into. So I think is it a smart time to buy now? Probably not, because it's only been up, but just keep an eye on everything. Oh yeah, there you go. The King's
just
back.
Pulling up the AMC chart. This is an indicator of retail, if it isn't. So what's that up from like mid-teens to 24 at the minute? I think this might have been instigated by someone opening like a large fund, opening a short and saying, I dare those guys to come after us. And obviously, you know what you know what a bunch of apes are going to do? They're going to try and short squeeze the fuck out of it with success last year. But what are the other ones? Bed Bath and Beyond. GME.
What's GameStop doing?
Yeah, not as aggressive, but definitely still up. Like, what's the weekly look like?
Slow moon.
What's Bed Bath and Beyond?
Oh, what was it? AMTD. AMTD, was that it? Was that the one? Is that the name of the one that random Hong Kong company that literally just flew like 3,000% or something? Whoa! Look at the wick on that, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus Christ!
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
Like, what is that in a day? Like, what's that daily candle look like? Fuck me. Like Jesus the gap Christ, on
look
that.
At the time between opening and closing.
That's ridiculous. It's like 500% in a day.
Jesus, that is change your wife right there.
Yeah, it's the crypto industry that needs regulation. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I haven't looked at Bitcoin, but I suppose we can pull it up. I've still been doing what I mentioned last week. It's just I haven't really been paying too much attention to Bitcoin, and a lot of my focus is on ETH. I think it's.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
But yeah, I think by my levels, it's Bitcoin's banging its head on this kind of 24-ish level. Nice little gap there though to 28. If we can kind of see that, I'd probably be looking to take an awful lot off if we do start seeing the late 20s. Just for kind of peace of mind and back some profits.
Yeah. So this is that thing, like my thought would be like if we can break and retest 24, that potentially would be the place to open up. Like if you're a degen who does the whole leverage thing, that could be a place to maybe do that.
Yeah, because you've got no way to define risk reward by entering here.
No.
If you're going to enter a trade, if you kind of dollar cost averaging in, then you shouldn't really be paying attention if your time horizon's a lot longer. But there's absolutely no way you open a long here. So it's like who opens the longs to kind of push us above this. So I don't know. But saying that, like, yeah, exactly, yeah. But saying that, like, S&P, let me just zoom out. This is NASDAQ anyway, but NASDAQ's kind of coming into a touchy resistance as well, which, I mean, naturally we've just been pegged to it for God knows how long now, but it still looks strong, still looks powerful. And obviously we've dragged the crypto markets up with it. I don't know what was leading. I think the ETH merge plus strong equities is probably a decent recipe, but I mean we've had a little over 100% move off the bottom with ETH, so I think that's good. But again, like S&P, if you look at those levels, it's not exactly. It's just going to test that level that I've had marked out for, I don't know, since early December now. So I don't know. We could. It doesn't look like it wants to, but we'll have to see because we've got a CPI print as well, haven't we? So
yeah, I think with this, I think I mentioned like a week or so ago, like the Fed went really aggressive with these rate hikes. There was a lot of like fear surrounding it and whether we would go to like 100 basis points, like to really go above and beyond. And then my whole opinion was that they would tail it off and tail it down going into the midterms, which with some of the news out recently, like new jobs they're basically like 2x the amount of new jobs, which is ridiculous. Like how do you 2x new jobs almost overnight? So I think with things like this and then the new Inflation Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, things like this, it's now going to put the bear rally. But I think it's going to put a little bit more steam behind the bear rally, if I'm honest. But there was a few guys that did break down what all of this meant on Twitter. And if you read the newsletter yesterday, hint, hint, it was all alpha dropped and alpha leaked in there.
I'm trying to see if there's a prediction market on CPI. Forecast 8.8. Actual, I know that was the last one. Probably have to post that in the show notes if I can find it. But
yeah,
should we get off the boomer stuff and have a look at some smaller caps? I mean, I'm kind of kicking myself because there's been people in Discord telling me about GNS for weeks, and I had multiple opportunities to buy some. as bad as it sounds, the idea that it was on Polygon put me off bridging and buying some.
Yep. But, yep. I think we need to do a video on how to use Polygon.
Oh god, that'll take like 4 years because the confirmation times or the stuck transactions will be just continually lagging. I don't know. Yeah, but Gains Network, quite a few upgrades. I can from what I can tell, I think they're gonna switch to a GMX GLP style model with the liquidity, which I mean it's done GMX a world of good. Like to kind of see them get on multiple chains as well. I don't know if they're kind of been funded by Polygon to stick around or what the kind of politics behind it there is. But yeah, people have had the opportunity to buy at like 70 cents, sat around 248 now. So it's just that's just a chart that you just hold. And it looks great. It looks to be.
Go on.
I mean, you shouldn't really take all your token data from Dex Screener because it can often pull up wrong circulated and wrong fully diluted. But if those are right, then a lot of, well, 99.9% of the supplies on the market, 65 million market cap, $8.9 million liquidity. Looks good. Should have bought. Can't buy here. Have to wait for a pullback. But yeah, looks good. Looks great.
But like, I know we say we could have unloaded like in that like June, July time, but that was when like there was the most fear. And if you had conviction to GNS on Polygon, a network that's a little bit slower at the moment, you'd have had some right balls to buy that then.
Someone did.
Someone definitely did. But it's interesting. Like it's interesting to see here with like the different spaces in crypto. So the micro caps, if you make it like a 2x, then you know you may as well just bag hold for the rest of the day because there's a dead bag. But like when you see this slow growth over time, this is really what you are looking for, just generally in the space, because it shows that one, it's a healthy chart. Two, whatever they're doing behind the scenes is generally working because it's consistency there. Consistency with a few little whoopsie-daisies as like the market dipped. But look at that. That's a cup and handle coming. Nice cup of tea.
Yeah, you're exactly right in what you're saying, because I think too many violent moves to the upside leads to kind of heavy profit taking. And you've seen that across some of the Metis ecosystem players this week where shit pumped like 300%, and now it's going to need a lot longer to kind of stew and allow people to take profits, and then wait for those who wanted to sell to kind of allow them to sell, and then like the kind of charts and price action can continue. But with this, it's much a similar story with GMX, which we can bring up in a second. But that slow, steady burn upwards is exactly what you want. You don't want kind of a ridiculous kind of god candle with 50% of the wick being eaten by people selling, or people knowing that they were about to be able to sell because of some kind of news. With stuff like this, it's, as you say, it's momentum from behind the project, slowly drip feeding out updates, increasing liquidity on the platform, increasing like the usability of it. So great chart, just kind of really coping about being told 3 or 4 times to buy it and completely missed it. But you know, I'll bring up GMX because this is another good example. It doesn't necessarily rip, but it just, you know, just slow chug upwards.
Wow, look at that.
And I think I was definitely buying around 16, 17. So really happy with that. It's one of my biggest positions as well. I think people have kind of woke up to the idea that emissions are not real yield and not sustainable, and GMX and GLP they cracked that before anyone. And the platform's only grown, the amount of trades on the platform are ever increasing. So I don't know what market cap that's at. 348.
Nice.
Maybe a little bit. But yeah, it's good. Again, just what we're saying. It's like a slow move upwards. We've got a little bit of profit taken that came in around like 30 range, bust that, and now it's just need to figure out what it wants to do. Probably might come back down and touch 40s, but then I'd expect that to continue upwards. The tokenomic design behind GMX is excellent. So this is one that I'm not coping about because I loaded up relatively low. Shall I bring up my favorite, the darling child?
Yeah, the one that should definitely, obviously this isn't advice to anyone, definitely the one that should just blind date in at 16 when you started talking about it on him. Jesus Christ, look at that.
Yeah. Problem is, it's not a problem, but I mean, this is, so with Xmon, it's like, I think I picked it up, yeah, it was around 16. I think I even bought some for Expo Treasury a little bit lower than that, but we sat at 32. I think we've touched like 35, 36. But again, like this volume you see coming in from like middle of July, big volume on 28th of July. Everyone anticipating Sudo. Sudo swap token. I don't know if it's going to be a redemption or an airdrop or whatever it is, but the only thing about this is because the liquidity to market cap is relatively high, like 81 million market cap and 10 million liquidity, you can just get people coming in and butchering the chart if they want to. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm optimistic. Like, this came out yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. So there's a June analytics board where the Sudo swap AMM, so being able to trade NFTs in a liquid fashion, it flipped Luxra, obviously the NFT platform that tried to vampire attack OpenSea, but was effectively just exit liquidity for retail again. So stuff's bubbling. And yeah, I really like it. I think it'll continue to rip up. I don't know how you feel about this, because obviously with this kind of shitcoin space, a lot of you end up having like 25 zeros in front of your actual digits. So it looks like a low price point with regards to kind of normie retail entry, and people's like, oh well, if this if people don't understand market cap and supply, they're like, oh well, if this goes to Bitcoin price, I'm going to be a trillionaire, even though that would land the token having like the largest market cap on planet Earth. But how do you feel about high perceived price per unit? So this is like $32,387 per XMON. Do you think it's like positive or negative by perception? Because people like to own round numbers of stuff, don't they?
Yeah. So like, based on perception, the fact that this went almost like what? It looks like just close to $90,000. Christ, I am not buying something that's worth $90,000 right now. I have not got the funds, mate. If I was going to do that, I'd go buy like a Porsche or something. But I think there's a lot to be said for normal people with that number, because, for example, a shitcoin I bought yesterday, I bought let's say Max Wallet was a million tokens. Sweet, I got a million tokens. The price is whatever the price is, and I got a million. I can afford that. I can buy lots of it. With this, it's like that is $32,000. Like, I'm not going to be able to buy one of them. I'll be able to buy a fraction of them, and I think that's where the psychology of round numbers and owning things comes into play. So that, for me, honestly, I think, what the hell is that? I'm probably going to stay away. But just me personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of that does creep in. Like, you see it, even nice shiny round numbers as like resistance and support, like 20Ks, 30Ks, and things like that. So there's definitely an element of that, and it also lends itself really well to like whales coming in and buying like 100 of them, and you're at the mercy of their however they wake up in the morning. maybe they've had an argument with a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and want to kind of offload, take it off the market.
And like, dude, that's worth one XMON is worth more than a Bitcoin. Let's put that into perspective. That is worth more than a Bitcoin. So if I was thinking it from a normies thing, I'd be thinking like, why is this not in the top 10? Why is this not number one? That's what I'd be thinking.
I think that is why, like, I think if you look at CoinMarketCap and you look at like top 10, top 20 projects, I think when you get new retail participants that come into the market that don't understand the basics of supply and market cap, I truly believe that's why Cardano and XRP tend to be people's first asset buys, because they see a low perceived price. Oh, go away, Siri. They see a low perceived price and think, well, they start like running numbers up in their head and think, oh, well, if it hits Ethereum's price, then I'm going to be rich. But they don't know that would probably be that'd probably land Cardano or XRP as the most, probably more valuable than every asset on the planet combined. And I also believe that is by design and not by just kind of mistake. I think a lot of people who develop those kind of projects have that in mind as well. they kind of set out and want to have a lower price point because it doesn't necessarily matter, does it? Really, it's market cap. Obviously, if everyone should know that. But I think to kind of new participants in the market, they see a low perceived price and they're like, "Yeah, I can afford this." But you can afford anything. It's just you're going to have a fraction of it compared to you're going to have 1,000 of it. So I think that has a little bit to play. I don't know to what degree. I think obviously XRP and Cardano have got their kind of armies of I won't say what armies of type of people they are, but I do think that plays a factor. What else have we been looking at? Is there anything you want to bring up? I've got a few on the list.
No, I've been so deep in the casino right now. It's been nice, like the last few days, really just spending more time in Discord, reading Discord, looking at things like Jones, looking at more things like GMX and Hero as well. And I saw on the Twitter this morning, got a very nice shout out from Hero.
Yeah, they're really supportive. They obviously help us out with the stream and everything as well, being a sponsor. So I just hope that we can kind of get the message across with regards to the value accrual of the token. And I think then not the next piece, because the next piece surrounding Hero is going to be basically a degen guide to options, perps, hedging, and all that, so people can understand why it's actually useful. And the piece that I really need to sit down and start writing is looking at, because every trade on the platform, effectively 50% will go directly to stakers, and it won't go directly to stakers in the form of more Hero token. It'll go in USDC, which is probably all be blacklisted and no one will have any money at the end of it. But but it's like complete token value accrual from across every single trade on the platform, and it's not just like not to I'm in no means shitting on GMX, but GMX is a perps platform, but Hero will be a perps platform, exotics, power mutuals, options, any kind of derivatives market that you can build, people will be building on Hero. So you can kind of getting ridiculous volume across the platform because there's so many avenues to trade. And again, everything comes back to token value accrual to stakers. So what we're going to do in the next piece will be looking at potential volumes across a platform and what that kind of means for what kind of revenues token stakers could actually expect. I mean, it'll be all hypothetical, of course, but if we can, even if we can make some kind of calculator that says, like, in worst case, if there's like $1,000 volume per day, then this is what it would look like. And then if there's like $1 billion value, traded per day, this is what it look like. And you can probably work out a fair value for the token based on that. So I need to sit down and go through that and have a look at what numbers look like. But people should keep an eye out for that.
I feel like that was a rather large alpha hint.
Maybe. We have to try and add value. We can't just talk like fucking idiots for an hour. Yeah, Jones, another one where I've been told to buy. Bought some.
What is Jones? Let's start with that. What is Jones?
So Dopex is an options platform on Arbitrum, and effectively Jones will allow different kind of vaults that build on top of Dopex to make it effectively really simple for people to go and deposit their assets in and earn a yield based on Jones having a strategy on the back end to go and generate yield by using the Dopex platform. So it's effectively an extra layer on top of Dopex. So you tend to see there's like a basket of assets that are all interconnected. So you've got Jones, you've got Plutus, you've got DPX, RDPX, and even maybe Vestas in that kind of bag as well. But you tend to kind of see those move together naturally. If one's performing well, it's because, I don't know, the Dopex platform's getting an awful lot of traction or volume and stuff like that. So you tend to see that, but there's an awful lot of developments happening under the surface in that ecosystem, and I think probably should try and get those guys on for an interview as well. But I think they're going to switch. Dopex are going to switch their liquidity mechanism to like a similar to a GLP. Again, everyone taking inspiration from GMX, and there is kind of rumors around like a Dopex stablecoin as well. So people who are actually in positions on the platform could actually be liquid in the meantime whilst the actual trades playing out. So, I mean, this is like a simple ape. Like that was like a long-winded answer, but like a simple ape is the fact that it's like 5 million market cap, and Arbitrum
Oh,
ecosystem, and
now we're talking.
Arbitrum ecosystem seems to be doing particularly well. So, just kind of looking for those. And I mean, if that isn't the bottom chart, then what is?
Yeah, that is like, yeah, that's at the bottom.
You're not gonna get. I mean, I'm just gonna slowly start picking some up. I got a terrible entry yesterday, but if ETH holds, it's just something that I can kind of hold over the next couple of months and slowly add to. I think so. See how that plays out. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I really wanted to speak about. Yeah, optimism. It looks like it's slowly running out of steam. Famous
Yeah,
last words. We'll end
wasn't that
the
because
stream.
they had like the pool on Aave was giving optimism's rewards, so this is why you might expect things to slow down and then maybe I don't want to say Dumpa Lumpa, but maybe Dumpa Lumpa soon.
Yeah, I think you're kind of seeing that critical mass start to play into it now with regards to demand for the token versus emissions. So obviously now it's ran up from like 40 cents to 180, did top out at 220. I think you're kind of seeing that demand for exposure to Ethereum basket projects around the merge was outweighing emissions that were coming onto the market. But now, I don't know, just like, I mean, the chart doesn't look necessarily horrendous, but just from looking at kind of price action over the past couple of days, it feels like those emissions might be slowly starting to catch up. But it could be a good, if there's anywhere to kind of deposit optimism into and earn yield on it, or even if you, I don't know, I haven't checked out if you can earn yield on it and you could also simultaneously short it and just be delta neutral and absorb the yield, then that could be a good player. But it's too much effort for me.
For real.
I think that might be it for me. I do have a few more, but I'm not fully allocated yet. So maybe Friday we can talk about them,
maybe
or we
Friday.
can,
Friday.
or maybe we can put them in. When's the next newsletter? Maybe we can put them in there
Tomorrow, coming out tomorrow morning.
Okay, yeah, we'll put them in there.
Let's go.
Any final thoughts?
Just be smart. Like if this is a bear rally and like if you've learned from a bull market, if you learned in a bull market not to take profits, this is probably a great place to learn how to take profits and when to take profits. Now, what I've actually been doing is I've been setting out on the charts points where I will physically force myself to take the profit just to get in the habit of taking profits. Have I taken profits too early? Hell yeah. But then when I've taken profits and the chart's just gone the other way, I'm like, whoa, that was good timing. So you're never really going to time the top right. You're never going to time the bottom right. But if you can get into a habit of saying, yeah, I took X amount of profit at this level, rather than saying, oh, I was up like 100 X's, but then I got wrecked, bro. Because that's not cool, man. That's not cool. Learn to take profits.
Yeah, I think my final point would be if you have kind of made profit in this leg up, you shouldn't necessarily be looking like if you looked yesterday and you're like a really healthy portfolio. I mean, I think mine was probably getting close to near liquid all-time highs. I think I've had a lot. I think I've had a little bit higher, but a lot of it wasn't liquid at the time. So I think liquid all-time highs was pretty close, which is I'm not too not disappointed about it whatsoever. But it's getting into the habit of just not kind of measuring from the top and measure from kind of where the first started. Like if you initially put in like, I don't know, X amount at the bottom, and now you sat on a good amount. Don't look at what your kind of recent all time high was and be constantly worrying about that. It's you kind of measure from the bottom and not from the top, if that makes sense. Because if you start measuring from the top, you see an awful lot of people do this, and it just leads you to become like stress out about the position. This is what I could have had, but you couldn't have had because you didn't take a profit. You're never ever going to sell like your full portfolio at the top. It just doesn't happen. So I think people can get themselves into a little bit of a sticky situation by like what could have been. So it's just kind of remembering where we were a month, 6 weeks ago, and kind of being happy with where you are now if you've played the market quite right. And as Dan was saying, just you can still keep exposure, but just kind of take a little bit off the top. You can always add later, and don't round trip. But round tripping tends to happen because people like measure from the top, and it's like, well, why should I sell here? I had a portfolio of X. It's like, well, you also started with a portfolio of Y, and that's where you should be managing from, if that makes sense. Probably talking a lot of shit there, but it should make sense.
Probably the best advice we've given on the podcast.
So let's finish this so I can go and sell all my bags at the top. No, I think we'll be back. We'll be back Friday. We'll probably just look more at newsy stuff and latest developments. What's happened? We should have this CPI print coming through the middle. And yeah, we should have a few more interviews coming next week with some projects. We know we pushed out an awful lot over the past couple of weeks, but we'll be doing Tuesdays, Fridays, and then in the meantime, there should be a couple of interviews with project founders and project business development and people like that as well. So yeah, there's an awful lot of people not subscribing, so please please do it. It's really difficult to get reach on YouTube, and if you can kind of put the notification on as well, we won't spam you. We'll just consistently try to turn out consistent content that's a little bit shit but a little bit good at the same time. So please, if you could do that, that'd be a massive help. And Dan, newsletter tomorrow, is that right?
Oh yes, plenty of alpha going to be dropped in the newsletter. Plenty of actual real life news in the newsletter as well. Cover things from what's happening in the crypto market as well as the rest of the internet. And I always try and make the rest of the internet as interesting, as fun as I can. So stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. Big news developments coming with it over the next week or so.
Awesome. Right, I think that's it. Thanks everyone, and see you Friday.
Peace.